Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's episode of Hey Sister. As you can see, we are definitely where the money resides tonight.
Oh, yes. Can you hear me?
We can hear you, but you
Oh, okay. I'm
like
sorry.
you ain't got nothing to say. Come on now, sister.
I was laughing.
If you are out there watching, we thank you for tuning in tonight. We just ask that you like, follow, share this episode, subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can catch it at youtube.com/Hey Sister. That way you can go back and catch up on all the episodes you may have missed and get some good information and knowledge that we'll be dropping throughout this episode, because we're going to be talking about some money and moves tonight. We also want you to join the conversation in the comments. We want you to get involved. We got a very special guest this evening who's going to really give us a lot of knowledge, information that's practical that you can use so you can make some money moves in 2021. So with that, we start each episode off and
Okay, hold on.
good.
I don't feel like you said, "Hey sister, how you doing?" You
I
just said,
did.
"No, you said as you all can see, we're where the money resides." So that's why I laughed. And then you were like, "You don't have anything else to say because you didn't say, 'Hey sister, how you doing?'"
Well, hey, sister, how you doing?
I am doing fabulous. I was actually thinking more of Cardi B, because we don't have to dance anymore. We're making money moves now.
Okay.
I don't dance now. I make money moves.
She don't dance now. She makes.
I don't make dance no more. I make money moves.
Oh,
So,
girl, I don't know what the
or
last,
whatever it was.
but we gonna see. Not that kind of dancing. At least you did dance, though. That's very much so.
Yes, well,
Yeah.
it's been a long time since I've been at Margot Battaglia or with the Tigerettes of Thibodeau High School.
Well, if you're watching tonight, drop down in the comments. Let us know that you're watching and let us know what your financial questions are going to be as we dive into our hot topics tonight. So we're going to start in memoriam because actually this past weekend there were like 3 back-to-back influential people who passed away. And also it was a year ago this time when we were coming to you the day or around the time when we lost Kobe Bryant. So it's like that beginning of the year always seems to have some huge losses. And so one of those huge losses at the beginning of this year certainly was Hank Aaron. And I had a conversation with our father, and he was like, wow, it just seems like all of our legends are passing away. But Hank Aaron certainly lived a storied life and meant so much to so many, not just in baseball, but also just the exemplification of Black excellence. So he was one who passed away this weekend. And the other who has been very much in the was very much a part of our experience growing up was Larry King, right? And so seeing Larry King, the Larry King show on CNN, how it was really groundbreaking television. But this is someone who started off in a radio program and translated that into TV and did some of the best interviews. And someone shared a memory, at least Prince's estate, and as they are on Facebook, shared the memory of his interview with Larry in 1999. And you know, Prince is my man. He's still my man. So that was very moving and sad. And then lastly, you told me about this last one who I didn't see the news flash, but certainly if you were a fan of Sanford and Son, tell us who passed away from Sanford and Son this weekend.
Yeah, well, actually, the actor's name was Gregory Sierra, and he had roles on both Sanford and Son and Barney Miller. He passed away after a battle with cancer at the age of 83. And interestingly, he seemingly passed away on January 4th, but the news didn't break until this past Friday. So for those who remember Sanford and Son, he was the neighbor Julio Fuentes, and I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce the last name of his character on Barney Miller, but it was Sergeant Miguel Chano, and I don't know how to pronounce the last name. But nevertheless, Gregory Sierra, again, if fans of Sanford and Son, I know us growing up, you know, both Sanford and Son and Barney Miller were two of our father's favorite sitcoms to watch. So it was something that you know, when it came across the screen, of course, it just, you know, reminds you of how quickly time passed, even though, you know, he was 83 years old, still it seems like time passed really quickly. So
Yeah, when we start counting those decades, they seem to they go by real quick, right?
much faster. I was just saying earlier, like today's January 24th, so Christmas was almost a month ago already. So
Right.
yeah, time passed really quickly.
Yeah, for sure. Well, our next hot topic, this was like the most boring, laziest versus battle. And I know they online telling us that, you know, I guess somebody I posted, they read the article, like, we don't know all what was happening behind the scenes. I don't know what was happening behind the scenes, but all I know is Ashanti was on her phone like this and talking to somebody over here. And then
Right.
that come brush her hair. And I was like, what y'all doing at the versus battle? Huh?
Yeah, you know, I didn't even know about it taking place. At first, I was
I think I spelled Keisha wrong here, but it don't matter. Child.
nah,
Because Keisha didn't seem like she was even wanting to be there most of the time.
well, you know, I think what it sounds like she was late from what I understand. And or maybe both of them was late. Maybe she just was later than Ashanti. I don't know. Look, at the end of the day, I enjoyed what I heard. You know, they
Okay.
both have songs.
One of the most viewed for certainly because they had over 1 million viewers.
They did. When I was on, I saw 1.1 million viewers. But I only knew about it because one of my friends texted, "Are you all watching this?" And then my other friend was like, "Nah, Keisha Cole was taking too long. Let me go back and check it out." So, so I checked it out, and there were a few bangers that came through, and you know, then there were a bunch of songs that I was like, I have no idea what this song is. But shout out to those ladies. They both had some long black weave, though. They were like, we gonna have the long down to our buttocks weave today. So, but they both did look very beautiful.
They were laid. Now listen, they were laid to the gods, honey. They were beaten, laid
Beat to the gods, yes. But
all the
like somebody said, but them them baby shower chairs got more so got more time than they did.
child,
So.
for sure. Well, the next hot topic is the inauguration and the Bernie meme. So if you want to create you a Bernie, if you want to sit with Bernie, this is where you could go and make you a sit with Bernie meme of your own and share it. But the last time we were here, we were anticipating the inauguration, and now the inauguration has come and gone, and I'm still the fashions. Oh, Michelle, the fashions. That's all I can say.
Yes, you know, listen. First of all, praise God from whom our blessings flow that it was safe. I think I almost liked it better without all the people there. You know, just I would have loved to have been there. You know, it would have been off the charts.
We were planning to be there.
Yes,
I would have
absolutely.
been there since that Friday before.
Before, exactly, exactly. But wasn't able to be there. But I was like, hey, I got you. I got you. But if you ever in the house, because there was an Instagram post that just had me cracking up because it was totally how I felt when I saw Michelle Obama. I was like, come on, Michelle, come through, Michelle. And it's like, why am I so excited? But she was every bit of, you know what? And
like I said, Barack and Michelle done left us to calamity and went off and lived their best life. And then they gonna walk up in here 4 years later like, oh, y'all missed us?
What is
it? If you saw Michelle and Barack walk down, first of all, they just came from the back and then they opened the doors and then they had to descend the stairs. Tell me what y'all were thinking. Drop it down in the comments. What were you thinking? I was like, okay, you looking like a whole entree and dessert up in here, like a snack. Y'all like the full meal. And I know everybody was like, "Ooh, Michelle looking good." But that's a good looking man. I don't care what y'all say. And he was looking all well poised and confident in his own stature. And he's poised and confident enough to know I got the baddest woman in here. And he can let her shine. I love it.
I loved it too. I mean, yeah, they did come in like Varnell Hill from Martin, you know, Tommy Davis's character, Varnell Hill. Did you miss me? Did you miss me?
Yes,
Oh
I
man.
think we were all yelling, "Come through, Michelle!"
Yes.
Sure, yes, they got the most applause.
They
Yeah.
did. And I mean, for the 15 people who got to attend, they were cheering for 44. So I just say, let's go 44, let's go 46. We all about the even numbers right now.
How about that? Keep it even. And then our last, but certainly not least, hot topic. Did y'all get into that Salt and Pepper movie last night? So Lifetime has been coming through. Okay, so we already know we had the Clark sisters, which was definitely must see TV. This one, when I saw the ad for it, I thought it might be must see TV, but then I watched it and I'm like, it's a maybe see TV.
Listen.
But they coming with Wendy Williams next, and they coming with Mahalia. So Lifetime is you targeting the demographic. You know the demographic of which I speak. But I will say, if you didn't see the Salt and Pepper movie, obviously there's some controversy because they have had a separation from Spinderella, who was a part of the group for over 30 years, and but it's really about the friendship and the evolution of the friendship between Cheryl and Sandy, Salt and Pepper, and all the way from the Sears call center where they worked at the Sears. When we know the story, they worked at the Sears call center with Kid and Play. Martin worked around the way there, like all of them came up together at the same time. And why are your lips looking like that, sister?
Because first and foremost, I see some people ain't seen the movie. Now, let me just start with I was late on it. I got a text. Are you watching this biopic? I said, oh, I forgot about it. Okay, let me turn it on right now. The next thing was, if you not, it's okay. You ain't missing much. Then as soon as I turned it on, I said, why is the hair and makeup budget at Lifetime always $10? Always.
I didn't think the hair, the wigs were that bad. I didn't think they were that
Like my friend said, I'm gonna shout out to Jessica. Me and Jessica was texting. Jessica said, I can smell the plastic from here. I said, if they get close to open fire, it's over. Listen, this is my thing. And I was telling her, this is why we have to tell our own stories. I know we cannot do, I know that the networks have certain control, but see, y'all already telling me y'all about to do something with Mahalia. Mess Mahalia up if y'all want to. I don't care about Wendy Williams because she's a part of her. She's pumping her.
Full-fledged part of hers. Mahalia is gonna star. What's our girl Danielle?
Danielle, I can't think of her last name from Orange is the New Black.
Oh my gosh, y'all look up her name and tell us in the comments who it is. But it's gonna star her, and it's already listen.
Danielle Brooks.
Listen, y'all. Like you here so we're gonna say this. Y'all came through for the Clark sisters because you had to do right. Now Queen Latifah and them were behind that.
Right.
Robin Roberts is behind Mahalia.
Okay, well maybe it'll be done correctly.
Robin Roberts is presenting Mahalia. So
Salt and Pepper, let me tell you what I told Jessica. I said, this movie is pregnancy and vomiting, the whole thing. The whole movie is pregnancy and vomiting. And she said, yep, they were born, they got pregnant, they vomited, the end. I said, and ignoring Spinderella. That was the crux of the movie. And I'm saying that it's not to make fun of an eating disorder. It's not to make fun of that at all. What I'm saying though is She had an eating disorder, but then they always was pregnant as well. So you vomiting for eating disorder and pregnancy, like, and then we ignoring Spinderella. Like, granted, y'all went y'all separate ways, but of course, people are gonna question the authenticity of it all if Spinderella ain't got but one line.
She had more than one, but she was not an integral part. We will leave it at that. If you want to know about the battle between Spinderella and Salt and Pepper, y'all can Google it and read about it for yourself.
Well, everybody saw they did it. They had a whole reality show, and we saw how they were ignoring Police Spinderella then.
We talking about money tonight.
Money. We about to make some money moves.
What we know is that money is usually the integral part of why these groups separate. Money. So we want to make sure that we get our money right. And we are pleased to have with us Miss Shehara Wooten of Your Story Financial. She is a certified financial planner, and she is joining us tonight to talk about money and moves. So welcome to the show, Shehara.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. This has been so fun at being backstage listening to you guys. I've been cracking up and everything. So this is wonderful.
We are so excited to have you. We have a lot of comments here about Salt and Pepper movie and whatever. We won't bring all of them up, but we want y'all to definitely get more involved in the comments tonight, because this is where the real conversation starts. We'll talk about money. So first thing we want to do is ask you, Shehara, tell us your story.
Yes. Thank you for this opportunity, both of you. I really appreciate it. So just a little bit about myself is that when you know, some of this didn't come back to me until I started writing my book that we'll talk about later. But when I was like around 25 years old, I remember going to an Urban League Young Professional event. It was in Philadelphia, and they were doing something about finances. And they had a couple different financial planners. They had some insurance agents. And I remember walking up to one of the financial planners, or it was a bank. I'm an engineer at the time, so I'm electrical and computer engineer. And so this is my first job out of college. And I remember going up to this, financial advisor, and I was like, hey, I'm 25, but I'm going to retire at 30. So we need to put together some type of plan. And honestly, I knew that was lofty, but when I met with him, we ended up, meeting. I went to downtown Philly. I came out of there with some papers, but I still didn't have a financial plan. I didn't even, all the applications and things that I filled out, I really didn't even have a financial account, nothing. I didn't know, and I didn't know what to do. So over the course of time, I ended up, learning more about financial literacy and really trying to delve into it. It was something I had always been interested in, but it was like, as I thought about it more, that was one of the catalysts for me starting to get in and changing careers. And then I also started to read The Purpose Driven Life. I read What Color is Your Parachute, just to really figure out, what do I really want to do when I grow up? And that's how I got into financial planning. And so that was about 16 years ago. And, whenever I can help people if they came up to me, now I know how to help them. If they said, I'm 25, can you help me retire at 30? I would really help them get, the reality of what that looks like. And I know how to do that now. And so I think back on that, and also think back on the fact that financial literacy wasn't taught, and I just wanted to be a part of that solution. And that is one of the reasons why I, came over to this side and became a financial planner. In 2004 is when I actually got into the industry. And then 2009 is when I actually started working with individuals. So I've been on that journey working with individuals since 2009, just really helping them, create that financial story that they want. And so when I got into really learning more about this profession, I started to see that, okay, there's a side where people make commissions, there's a side where people charge a fee, and I really started to gravitate to moving towards being able to be on the side where I just charge a fee and then I can be a fiduciary. And so that's where I ended up starting Your Story Financial in 2016. And so it's been a journey, getting through and getting to this point where I'm really doing the work that aligns, with my values and how I want to help people. But, I'm a fiduciary, which means I can put my clients' best interests first. And then I focus on women and STEM professionals. I can never get away from being, an engineer. And so I still focus on the STEM professionals and just really, my goal is to help transform lives and just really see people take control of the money that they have.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and I love that you called it Your Story Financial, because each of us have our own financial story, whether, and what's brought us to that place where we're seeking someone like yourself, or just kind of the story of from our upbringing and our lives, right? And our relationship with money. So
definitely.
So let's talk a little bit more about finding the right financial planner. I know as we were preparing in the pre-show, this was like one of Christina's big questions. And tell them about your experience first, Christina, and then we'll toss it to you, Shehara, to kind of answer that question.
Sure.
Yeah. So, I'm currently on my third financial planner, and I was saying how the first one, they always come through referrals. So, and the three that I've had have been women, and so the first one I had, I wasn't making a whole lot of money, but I noticed that we weren't having any regular check-ins. So like a year could go by and I would not hear from my financial planner. And at the end of the day, they are collecting some sort of commission off of the money. Even if it's a little bit of money, they are still getting paid off of the money. So I opted to break off that relationship, and that was a tough one, but I kind of was like, yeah, let me just call and say, I kind of let the next financial planner do it. And then that financial planner, I was working with her, and for a while it was really good. But then when we got to a place where I actually was making more money and in a more, I would say, quote unquote, comfortable situation, having a little bit more discretionary income to invest, I felt like because she work specifically with a specific company, and that specific company sells insurance, that I was being pushed toward a product that I did not believe was in my best interest. And again, as I said in the pre-show, I felt like if Warren Buffett isn't doing it, I don't need to do it. I'm trying to be like Warren Buffett, so let me do what he does, kind of thing. And so, in which I actually went to my sister's conference. It's been over 2 years now, I believe, and met my current financial planner. So I have definitely learned it's an important relationship to have. And so how do you go about finding the right financial planner if you don't have one?
Yes, that is a great question, because a financial planner, they're going to really get into your life, where your treasure is. Yes, because where your treasure is, that's where your heart is. And, when you're linking up with a financial planner, they're going to get into that. A good one will, so I do call myself a financial life planner strategist. And so I really put people's life at the center of that. So I think it's really important to make sure that when you do have a financial planner, that it's somebody that you can mesh with, somebody that you feel comfortable talking to and sharing those intimate aspects of your life. I mean, I've had clients where we've cried, can you, do you feel even comfortable doing that with your financial planner? Maybe not in the beginning, just with any relationship, but do you even see that you can share that most intimate part of your life? Because it does come, it all comes full circle. I mean, if somebody passes away in your family, I mean, you're going to come in there and you're going to talk to this financial planner because, well, maybe they're a beneficiary. And now you got to change the beneficiary because of that, or now you're getting an inheritance, any of that, you got to feel comfortable talking to your advisor. So just with that in and of itself. But I'm also, like I said before, I'm a fee only fiduciary financial planner. So, and a certified financial planner. So I think having somebody with those credentials is really important as well. Although, I didn't always have those credentials. And I felt like, I did what I needed to do for my clients. But having, a certified financial planner is good. And then also for me, now that I have transitioned for the last, it'll be 5 years coming up in July, being a fee only planner. And that is somebody who, the fees are transparent. We're not going to sell you something. So it's not product based. So, Carl Richards, that's a really good person to look up, but he has a book about behaviors, but he draws a lot of pictures. And this is a picture that I use of his where you look at two circles, and in the center of the circle, for one is products. And then for the other, it's the person. And for a commission-based financial planner or financial advisor, it most likely is going to be the product. I mean, they're always going to be still talking to you about, your needs, your goals, things like that. But they might lead with, oh, here's a mutual fund you should buy, or maybe you should buy this stock or this insurance or that type of thing. And with a fee-only planner, somebody who is more focused on the person, we're going to really look into what are your goals? What's your why? What is your vision? How do you see yourself in the future? One of the things that I do is I look at your past, and sometimes I have had people say, okay, are we in therapy? And I'm not a therapist. There are financial therapists out there. And so I am not a financial therapist, but, really having somebody that you can talk about your past, how you dealt with money, how you deal with it now and in the future. There's some websites too, like NAPFA, National Association of Personal Financial Advisors. I'm associated with them. So they have a fee-only directory. I'm virtual and that type of thing. So I work with people across the US, but those are some baseline things to kind of know when you're looking to work with a financial planner.
So we have a question here. What are your beliefs when your company matches and invests for you through a 401k, example for Fidelity? So, because a lot of people, they are automatically put into, whether it's Fidelity, whether it's TD Ameritrade, or one of the big Charles Schwab. If you work for a company, you're automatically put into this plan with a 401k. So should you then seek an additional financial planner, or should you work with a financial planner through those organizations? What are your thoughts about that?
Yeah. So, I think it's really important to work with someone that, for instance, when I think of working through those organizations, I am thinking of calling a 1-800 number. I'm thinking of the fact that, you might be working with someone different every time. So what are your feelings towards that? Do you feel that that's okay to have to re-explain your situation every time you call in? I know I would not, want to do that. But in terms of a 401k, just in general, without even talking about the financial planner that comes with that, if you have one, because sometimes you don't get one. But it's really a great idea to do the company match. If you're going to get free money, we don't want to leave that on the table. We want to make sure we're taking advantage of that. Go up, at least contribute up to where they match you. And you do have the ability, for 2021, that you can do up to $19,500 on a 401k. You have a catch up of, I believe it's $6,500. So you have an opportunity to save a really good amount of money in your 401k. So, the things that I tell people, though, is that I remember when I first started saving my 401k, and I didn't realize, at the 25, just out of college, I started in one of my internships, I started saving in 401k, but I didn't realize, though, just the basics of knowing that I needed to have an emergency fund. I didn't realize that. So I was stocking everything. They said, sock it away. So I socked everything into my 401k. And then I was like, wait a second, you mean I can't take my money out? Oh, okay. So I should have been putting something into a bucket, like a short-term bucket, something where I can take money out, when I need it for an emergency. And then, using that as a long-term vehicle. And I think sometimes I'll have people say, I don't like my 401k. And it's because I can't pull the money out. Well, you're not supposed to be able to pull the money out until after 59 and a half or later. So it's just understanding the purpose of that vehicle. And then that way you can really align it with your goals and what you really want to do with that money. But they're still very beneficial.
Well, then this is where we want to go next, so since
sister, before we transition to that though, I want to make sure though that we answered Lakeisha's question, because she did ask about matching, I believe, as well. Did she?
She just said, what are your beliefs when your company matches and invests for you?
Right.
401k.
So the matching part, so I didn't know if we wanted to touch on that, because usually there's some rules of thumb about matching. If your company matches, that you should at least invest up to that amount. So I didn't know.
I heard Shehara say that.
Did you? Okay, I missed it.
Yes.
Sorry. Okay.
Yeah, definitely go up to that match. But I also think it's important to understand, do you have those other buckets filled up? Do you have your emergency fund? Do you have this? Because like I said, I'm not going to speak for everybody, but I was one of those people that I saved a lot, but I had put everything into my 401k and then realized I didn't have didn't have my emergency fund. So I needed to make sure. So just balancing all that. But yes, doing the match is great. It's free money.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. So we have a couple other comments, and I'm going to pull them up after we ask you. So what are the top 3 money moves for everyone? Like the top 3 things, no matter who you are, what your station is, because I do what I know now. I didn't know then, but what I know now is regardless of how much you make, you can really start working with a financial planner.
Yeah.
With as little or as much, like you said, even in internships, you can start working with a financial planner, right? Even with your allowance, because I've even thought about, in which I do need to do for my kids, haven't done it yet, but even starting them with Roth IRAs now, because you can start them with the Roth IRA now, get them thinking about the long term.
Yes.
So what are the top 3 money moves that everyone can make, like today? Yes. When they get off of this call, the day off, hey sister, obviously one of those moves is going to be to go to Your Story Financial, subscribe to her newsletter and site, and contact Shehara. That's one of them. But other than that one, what's the other 2 moves you want them to make?
So these 3 moves, I would say, would be, one is to set goals. So it may not seem like that's a money move, but it really is, because if you sit here and you're like, you have no direction, you don't know what you're going to do this coming year, I say, if you haven't done it yet, sit down and set some goals. Set some goals to, I want to have an emergency fund by such and such date. I'm going to have, I'm going to start working on my cash flow. Whatever it is, set some goals that, align with your money. Set some goals from there. The other thing is to understand the sacrifice. So what is it that you're willing to sacrifice in this coming year? I know we hate that, but, there's always going to be that sacrifice. I know there's a financial guru, and I love what he says, is that you can still have your Starbucks. But I do believe if you have your Starbucks, you probably are going to have to sacrifice something somewhere. So you can't have it all at one time. Usually, at least that's always been the case with me. There's always been something I was going to have to sacrifice and really dig in to figure out what is it that you will have to sacrifice for this coming year. Is it going to be I am going to make sure I stay off of Amazon. And
I am not going to do that.
Right. And so what if it is like, if you're going to do that, how do you put some guardrails in there? So the only way I'm going to get on Amazon is if maybe I go to Kroger or Fry's, I buy a gift card, I upload that gift card. Once that's done, I don't spend anything outside of that. So maybe that will be the way that you sacrifice, but you're still getting the the rush of being able to click that button and be able to buy something, whatever it is. Maybe you're taking that Amazon app, and I'm picking on Amazon right now, but it could be anything. But maybe you're taking that Amazon app and you're not keeping it on your phone. You're not making it convenient. I remember that, when I first started to really look at my finances and really figure out, okay, what are these behaviors that I have? I was living near a mall. So I was like, okay, when this lease is up, I'm not going to try to live near a mall. And honestly, what I did do is I lived near my church. So I was like 5 minutes from my church instead of 5 minutes from the mall. So
you can give money to the church instead of the mall.
But you know what? That's what I did. I started giving. I gave like more than I ever gave around that time. But that's a good point. The good connection that you made regarding that. But don't be so. Look at what it is, be honest with yourself, in terms of those sacrifices. And then the other money move, and it's more so the result of all the other two that I've made, is that there's a reward. There's the opportunity to celebrate your wins, celebrate, any progress that you've made. A lot of times, we might reach that goal and then we move on to something else, but take the time to stop and celebrate. And, it could be dinner. It could be spending money, but maybe you can find something that does not necessarily align with spending money for your celebration as well. So those are the three things, goal, sacrifice, and reward is what I would say would be the top money moves coming up here.
All right. Well, fantastic. You got a whole bunch
a lot of stuff.
Run through some of these comments, and then we're gonna get back to the what we have prepared. So one
some folks that I know too. So hello, everybody.
She needs a financial therapist like nobody's business. So, so if you can recommend somebody, go to Shehara's website. She might be able to. I'm sure she has a referral network.
Yeah, reach out to me. I'll look into it. I don't have anybody that I've worked with, but I do have a network of financial therapists. Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. So Felicia says, my goals are to have a savings account I'm comfortable with. My why is my own financial security and the feeling I get from knowing I worked hard and did, as well as future security for my son. And my vision is to have my home paid off and to have investments that I can pass along to my son and my future grandchildren. That sounds like she got those down. Got it down. Let's see. Some people, Leslie was agreeing with you, another fellow financial planner who we had on last year. Hi, Leslie. Too many trap their money in 401ks before saving first.
Yes.
Important there. Let's see. This is another. Some of these are related, so I'm not going to show them all. Here's one that says, if you were to purchase a rental property, would you finance the property using a 30-year mortgage or a 15-year mortgage, and why? That's a very specific question. But it's going to depend on your story, right? Story, right?
One of the things that one of our common answers, and nobody likes it, but it depends, right? It depends. So for me, I wouldn't be able to really delve into that and give you an exact answer, but it does depend, like Demetria said, on your story and really looking at the full picture. So, pulling in all the data that's necessary, looking at your full goals, your vision, what you feel comfortable with, what your budget is, 15-year mortgage versus a 30-year they could be night and day in terms of how much the mortgage is. Can you afford it? I mean, so things to think about there. But to tell you exactly what it is, I wouldn't be able to do that in particular. But it's definitely a great question and something to ponder and work with a financial planner on.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. For sure. Let's see. We have, I used to think the stock market was indicative of the economy. It's not. So how do we gauge where to put income?
Yes. So when it comes to investing, I'm a big proponent of really, obviously, I talked about the goals. So what is your goal with that money? If you have something you want to do within the next year or so, then I'm not going to recommend that you put it in the stock market, because you're going to have to pull that money out. And if we had a year like March 2020, or we had a month like March 2020, if you think back to that, and we put money in a year before that, and then now we need the money, and it was in the market, you would have been pulling it out when the market was way down and losing that. So again, going back to your goals is really important. But I'm a big proponent of asset allocation, which is a term really just saying that you're going to put things in different asset classes. So not everything's going to be in growth or a growth type investment. Not everything's going to be in an income type investment, without me getting into the weeds, but just really making sure that you are spreading your money out, but not, they call something called naive diversification. So like if you look at your listings of your 401k and you say, oh, I've got 20 funds, let me just split everything amongst the 20 funds, I'll just put 5% in each one, that it would be considered naive diversification. So you still have to know, what classes to put in, which funds to pick out. And I do help people do that so that you don't feel lost and just trying to figure it out on your own. But it's really important to think long term when you're investing, understand what your goals are with that, and then pick investments. You're not timing the market as well. A lot of folks think, oh, what if I get into this particular company or that particular company now because my coworkers have gotten in it and they're making lots of money, but they're probably you might be too late. So it's good to, like I said, use the techniques and strategies like asset allocation, diversification to get your money working harder for you.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it also depends a lot on your age, because I know when second financial planner and I got together, she was like, oh, they had you invested like an 80-year-old woman. We have to make some changes. And we did make those changes. And then when I got with my current financial planner, she probably felt like, well, she had you invested like a 75-year-old woman anyway. Like it still had a lot of room, because to your point, when you were 25, if you were 25 years old, you can afford to put $200 away a month or so. And by the time you're 45, you've seen a huge jump. If I start at 30 or 40, and even if I'm putting $1,000 a month away, you don't have the luxury of that time. So I think a lot of it also depends on your age and if you're risk averse or not.
That's true. Yeah, I've had clients that came to me 29, 20, and I'm thinking of a particular one, but 29, we do their risk tolerance. And on a scale of 0 to 100, they were a 20. I've had one, it was like in their 70s, and on a scale of 0 to 100, they were at a 70, So it really depends on the client, but it's good. I think this is where a financial planner comes into play too, because we're going to look at, okay, you are 30, you do have a risk score of maybe 30, but you need to take more risk because you have more time to overcome the ups and downs of the market. If you are, 70, and you scored a 70, we're still going to put that together as well. And there still is a case for still being in, equities or stocks, because having a portion, we would figure out what portion they need to be in because of inflation. So, 70-year-olds, they can live to 100. They can, that's another 30 years still that they need to overcome inflation. So, so there's a lot that, that we're thinking about when we're helping these clients as well, because they, even though they may feel like they don't want to be in the market or, just risk averse, it's good to, as they become more comfortable, as they become more educated, that they might start taking more risks. So like that 29-year-old, as an example, we started in less risky because of just where they were. And then we moved as they became more comfortable. They were like, okay, I think I can do a little bit more. And so over time, that's what we were doing. We were getting them acclimated step the toe in, then we're going to get the ankle, then we're going to get the shin, the knee, you know, all the way up. So we got to start somewhere.
But that also goes back to your story. So what was their story? Yeah. What was their experience with money growing up as a child, and all of that? All of that plays a role. We got some more. We got lots of comments here, so I'm gonna try to plow through some more. We got
wonderful
questions. So someone said, I'd rather own Starbucks stock than buy the coffee.
Yes, hi Dorothy.
Do you know Dorothy?
I do know Dorothy.
Oh wow, she's in my sorority chapter. So that's amazing.
I used to live in
Phoenix. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, well I'm here in Chandler.
Yeah, well there we go. That's why I know Dorothy. Yes.
Oh wow.
I love it.
All right. If we have more sisters focusing on working for the money than twerking when it comes to making that money, work your financial plan. But
hey, now listen, there's been plenty of sister who has twerked her way into a few dollars.
More than a few.
And hey,
if y'all don't know about the secret Instagram on how they making like $4,000-$5,000 for a 2-minute dance on the Instagram.
Yeah,
they making money now.
Now they just need to financially plan for
what they're thinking for the future, because you know a long-term career strategy, right?
Exactly.
We gotta have long-term, yes.
You know, you got to mix it up. That's where that asset allocation come in. How you allocating those assets.
Well, you also got to know your needs are gonna go out at some point. So
as you're shaking that asset, them assets for you. Okay,
that's right.
All right. Someone said staying off Amazon will definitely help the cause. Said her lesson is she's not going to live in walking distance from a Wawa again.
Can I just say one thing about Amazon? Be sure to sign up for Amazon Smile at very least, so that you can donate a portion of your purchases to your favorite nonprofit organization.
Yes, and I do have that. I do have that connection. We need to do that. That's good.
Absolutely. So Amazon stock should be owned by a person who frequently shops on Amazon. Most definitely. Let's see what else we got here. What are your thoughts on making financial management a bigger part of high school education?
Yes, I love that question, because that was one of the driving reasons why I got into this profession. Being an engineer, I was like, wow, you know, I didn't learn anything really about financial literacy. So I do believe that it should be a major part of financial education. I do actually have a friend that I believe she's in the East Valley in Phoenix or Chandler area. And her children go to a high school that they do teach financial literacy. It's so rare. You know, so anytime there's an opportunity, I love teaching students about, you know, financial literacy is super important. And really, I think that the key is starting them where they're at. So not overwhelming them. And that's the problem actually with financial literacy, is that we can give you a bunch of information, but if it's not like real time, then you'll hear it, and it's good to have that foundation, but you may not use it. So what we're finding is that financial literacy isn't as effective, and what's more effective is more that just in time type of training. So I think that speaks to why it's important to have a financial planner, because when you're working with a financial planner, they're really going to be talking about your situation, educating you specific to you, and you're more motivated to just get that taken care of. And that's the hope. So, but yeah, it's super important.
Well, we got a few more comments here. I'm not going to dive into all of them, but they're talking about investing stock, you know, philosophy around that. We're also talking about compound interest, so about the importance of getting in early and being longer in the market, and agreeing on students do need to be educated on household finances and investments and all of that good stuff. So those are some of it. But I do want to talk a little bit about this budget in the time of COVID. So
Yeah.
we know that COVID has hit every aspect of every part of our lives. Now, for those of us who are self-employed or who are work for corporations who have not been adversely impacted, we might still be doing okay, but there are many people who have been impacted from a financial standpoint. So talk a little bit about, I wanted to hit this on a couple of topics. Budgeting and like, how do you like make it through? And there was a question earlier in there and I forgot to put it up there, but how much did you have in an emergency fund, right? Because this is major. And this reinforced why we need emergency funds, right?
Definitely.
How do we budget in the time of COVID? And then I want you to touch a little bit on the kind of your documents piece, because people went into the hospital and then they were intubated, so they couldn't speak for themselves. Their family may or may not have been able to advocate for them.
Yes. Yeah, no, that's so important. It's really important right now, than ever, more than ever. You're not taking trips, most likely. You're probably like, spending on that DoorDash or whatever. If you can curb that, that would be really important right now. I think it's important to take advantage, really look at this, as an opportunity to start to save. In terms of an emergency fund, the typical rule of thumb is 3 to 6 months. 3 to 6 months. Usually we say 3 months if you have multiple incomes. So whether you're single and you've got 2 incomes coming in, or if you're married and you got the husband and the wife has income coming in, then maybe 3 months. But then 6 months would be for those who have not a multiple streams of income. And that's the typical rule of thumb. In times like this, I say anywhere from 9 to 12 months, would be a good comfort level, just because if you lose your job, how long would it take for you to get reemployed? I think that's really important to look at. The other thing is, if you do have student loans, that has been extended, not having to pay student loans for federal, not so much the private loans. That's been extended until September of 2021. And instead of paying those student loans, taking those funds and redistributing them into your emergency fund. It may look like, if you look at your spending, right, and you say, okay, I'm spending $3,000 a month, or I spend $2,000 a month, and multiplying that times 6, multiplying that times 9, that really can feel very lofty, and it can feel like I can't even do that. So, if you're like a lot of folks, you may not even do it because it just seems like too much. So I would just say, get to 1,000, get to 2,000, see what you can get to, start making progress. So, a lot of times people will just not make any moves, no money moves, because they're thinking that it's just not going to happen. It's going to take forever. So I just say, take baby steps, take step by step. If it's $50 a month, if it's $100 a month, just start putting it away at this time. Also, if you can reduce the debt after you've built up that emergency fund, start to reduce that debt. That would be great, because if you're owing somebody something, that's money that, that you're putting towards the debt rather than towards yourself and investing, like we talked about earlier. It's good to just really get those debts taken away or reduced. And then in terms of budgeting, a good way, rather than getting so granular, I don't know how many people are out there really, some people love their spreadsheets. Some people love just, getting in there and looking at every line item, and some people don't. So I think it's important just to really look at what people really are doing. And if you could list out all your committed expenses, so your mortgage, the things that never change, your utility, it changes slightly, but you have to spend money on that. You have to have a roof over your head. You have to have groceries, but groceries, honestly, when you go to the grocery store, you could end up, nowadays, it could be an emotional expense. You could buy a lawn chair, you could buy a dress, and you can buy some milk. So with that being said, you're going to really have to figure out, like, what do I want to budget towards that? So I like to put them in two buckets, like your committed expenses and your which are more like your non-emotional expenses, and then your spendable expenses, which are your emotional expenses. So that Amazon we talked about, that is emotional, that DoorDash. So if you really get all your committed expenses, and I would put savings in the committed category, just commit, we're going to save this amount. And then everything else you're going to put in that other bucket, the emotional bucket, the spendable bucket, and then have different accounts for each one of those. So, the money will go into all your income will go into that committed bucket that's going to spend for your groceries, not your groceries, but your utilities, your mortgage, your rent, all of those things that you have to spend every month, your savings, anything like that. Make sure that that's covered out of that bucket. And then the other account will be the discretionary funds, the funds where you're going to be able to, buy groceries or dine out or, buy a dress if you want. But if you just really make sure that the foundation is covered, that's going to be the key with budgeting right now.
Teacher said, Lord Jesus, I just got depressed.
Don't get depressed, T-Tom. Feel empowered.
Yes, definitely feel empowered. Well, can you touch on a little bit about the importance of documents, at this time? Because again, people went into the hospitals and just did not have certain documents. One of my financial planner advised me to, because my son is now 18 and he's going to go away to college, but to even just have his healthcare proxy done, because when he's away at college and if something happens to him, I can't make healthcare decisions for him unless I have that, because now he's considered an adult.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Yes. So it's really important right now to, just for one, look at all your beneficiaries. Every account that you have that has a beneficiary attached to it, really take a look at that. Make sure that it's up to date. If you've been divorced and you have a spouse that you're not with anymore, make sure it's updated. Also, make sure you have a power of attorney, which would allow, people, like if somebody were to call me, a daughter or a son of a mother that I'm working with, unless I have a power of attorney, I'm not going to be able to talk to that person. Also for health, like you were just talking about, it could be either, it depends on the city or the state. It'd be a living will or a healthcare directive, making sure people know who to call if there was some type of health issue. Another thing to consider is like a do not resuscitate. If you don't want that. So these are some serious things to really consider when you're having these health concerns. And in the midst of COVID, not that we're speaking that, this over anybody, but it's better to be prepared. And my thoughts are, we're not planning for the worst. We're planning for the best situation should the worst happen. And that's what you have to do, because a lot of times this is one of the last things, even when I'm working with my clients, I'm like, let's talk to an estate planning attorney. It might be one of the last things they do because it's such an emotional thing. But when you think about it in terms of, I'm really helping the next generation, I'm making sure they know my wishes. I'm making sure that we take at least that stress off their plate. And then I, get access to being able to help out my family at this time. So think of it in terms of you're helping your family, not so much as, oh, this is, just such a horrible, depressing topic, right? So it's the most loving thing to do, to sit down and just really lay out those documents and what you need.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. There was another question here, and I know Christina wanted to ask this one as well. I'm trying to go back to it. How do you feel about investing in Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies? What was your question?
It was. And Sean is my cousin, so
So there you go, right? Connected. So I actually don't do that very much. And I was talking with Christina about that. So what I typically would tell people is that, if you have serious money, obviously I'm going to be more of a traditional, we're going with things that have had a longer track record. But if you absolutely need to get into something like that and you know what your net worth is, because we haven't even talked about net worth, but if you know what your net worth is, your assets minus your liabilities, I say no more than 5% should go into investments like that. Just because we don't know the history, we don't know enough about the track record, and you don't want to put all your money in one bucket, right? So that old adage, don't put all your money in one bucket, because if it does fall over, then you're going to lose all those, all your money, or all the eggs, so to speak. So I am a big proponent of, if you absolutely have to do it, then, then go ahead up to 5%. But I'm definitely, and not at this place where I'm going to say, oh yeah, let's diversify, in Bitcoin, because of the fact that it's not enough history for it as a certified planner. So.
Well, someone also says here, you can also purchase options on currency. And then someone else says better file taxes on them as well.
Yes.
That's a whole nother conversation.
That's a whole, yeah. We'll see what happens with all of that.
Yeah.
Well, I did want to chime in on a few things that, we talked about. Number one, I did want to say, as far as that emergency fund thing, you talked about as one of your goals, you said in terms of the top 3 things, the third thing was celebrate. And it's interesting because when I hit my emergency fund, my financial planner and I had set an amount that she wanted me to get to. And when I got to it, I think she was more excited than I was. And she was like, oh my gosh, do you see how well you did? And I'm like, yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
But so she was really excited. So I think the celebrating piece is very important. But I mean, listen, there was a time where I certainly was not in the position to feel, I just didn't feel like I could put very much in an emergency fund at all. But I will say, part of to your point about the budgeting, a lot of times we don't like to look at the granularity of what we spend. But I will say that, and again, getting very intimate, if you will, with your financial planner is important, because when you start dissecting how much you actually take home, and then how much you spend on taxes, and how much you are investing, and then when you start getting very granular with it, sometimes, like, again, with my financial planner, I'm just like, no, I don't make that much. You lying, because I'm like, it's not possible. Because I know what my take home pay is. I'm like, it's not possible that these numbers, they're not making sense, right? But I do know that.
But you're an engineer and you studied math, so the numbers are right. That's something you're doing.
Well, what I'm doing is I'm not budgeting. But no, I'm just saying, a lot of times we use a Starbucks example all the time because it's an easy one, right? A lot of times people have been going, that is a practice that they do so much that they assume that that's a necessity. And it's like, it's not. You can actually make coffee at home and save a significant amount. And even those few coins that you save, even if it's if you spend $5 a day at Starbucks and you start making coffee at home, even if you save $3, and that can go somewhere, that can be put into something, or in this time of COVID, a lot of us have had to learn how to do our own hair if we weren't doing it before. There's sisters, we spend a lot of money on this hair and these nails and things of that nature. So it's like, when you take all of those things into consideration, sometimes I think we have become so comfortable in certain practices that we don't recognize just how much money we spend that we can't account for. So that was one of the things that I told you, my second financial planner was telling me about your money just flying away. Know where all your money is going, because a lot of times it's just flying away. And then the last thing I would say is, if you work for a company that provides you with any level of a bonus structure, it's not required for you to spend that.
Yeah.
You can continue to live off of whatever your regular salary is, and then just
Right.
invest your whatever your bonus is, so that it doesn't change. You're not tempted to use that money. You would
Yes.
just automatically invest it somewhere.
We call that lifestyle creep. You know,
Okay.
as you are making more money, all of a sudden you don't have any more money. Like, how is this working? You're
Right.
getting raises, and all of a sudden you're buying more, you're spending more.
Right.
So we could start to look at, and that's where the net worth comes into play. Net worth is assets minus liability. So if we could start looking at assets, not so much the depreciating assets like a car, like, oh, I'm making more money now, so I need to buy a luxury car. Do you really need to? What is it behind that? What makes you feel like you have to get that now that you make more money?
Because I couldn't get it before.
Exactly. I know. And this is what we go through.
Right.
Behind the scenes, right? But yes, and that is exactly what's going on. But what if we could reframe it to, okay, we're going to Starbucks all the time. And I'm not recommending any stocks, but what if we redirected some of that money towards buying a stock, buying a certain company, towards investments, towards income producing assets or appreciating assets? So just really getting our mindset, because even as a Black community, we spend like 1.2 trillion a year. That's what we spend. So if we're able to take some of that spending money and turn it into investing money, we have the money to do that. It's just a matter of reframing. Do I really need that bag? Do I need that right now? Not really. I don't really need it. But what is it about it that's making you feel good? Like, that's making you want to buy that right now?
Or I will say, I do have a friend, because I don't do the bag thing, but I have a really good friend who's into the bags, but she also goes on. There's a service or a website where you can resell your bags, and you can get a new bag after you resell your bag. But it's not, so then it's not like you're spending a whole lot more money for it. There's some give and take. But something else I did want to say
definitely
before we jump off, because I know we're at the hour, but my current favorite investment is a health savings account. Can you talk about a health savings account?
Yes. And that's so funny. I wrote that down, like, right when we were about to jump on. I was like, we didn't talk about, like, we could talk about a HSA, but you definitely brought that up. So yes, an HSA benefits enrollment time has it's pretty much past most people. But for the next enrollment season, if you're not already investing in a health savings account, then that is a great place to put money away into. So it's only for people who at their job have a high deductible health plan. And if you have a high deductible health plan, then you have the ability to put money away into a HSA. And it allows you to, it's a triple tax free. So you can put the money in tax free, it grows tax free. And if you use it for qualified expenses, the IRS has a whole list of what those qualified expenses are, then you will be purchasing that for tax free. So a HSA is a great place to really begin to save in addition to the Roths and the 401ks and the brokerage accounts that are out there. It's really good if you're healthy, because if you're healthy, you can build up your HSA. If you are not healthy, then you're going to be pulling money out of it pretty quickly. But I still recommend having an HSA because, you can buy contact lens solution with it. You can buy things that you're going to buy all the time. And they just added with COVID, if you guys can believe this, they just added menstrual products. That was not always on there. So with the passing of the CARES Act, you can now use your HSA to purchase feminine hygiene products. So it would just seem like that should have always have been, but it wasn't. So that's something. So again, you're building up this account, you're buying the items that you already would have purchased anyway. The contact lens solution, I'm sure Band-Aids can be on there. I mean, there's a whole list. Really take the time to look at that. I've had clients that are a little afraid because they think that, what if I don't spend all the money that year? So at HSA, what's nice is it does roll over. So then there's another thing called a flexible spending account that you can get at your job. And a flexible spending account doesn't roll over, but it's very similar in that you can purchase items tax-free that you would have needed to purchase anyway. But usually you've got to spend that money by December 31st, and then they might have a grace period for you to get the refund or to provide the documentation for it. But yeah, on top of that, you need to be documenting that you're, buying this contact lens solution. You need to be keeping those receipts and things like that. But these accounts are great. And a strategy to consider if you want to build up your HSA and your company still offers an FSA, and I know we've talked about it a lot right now, but then go ahead and use your FSA to, and spend those dollars on those items in that year. And get that down to zero by December 31st, but also build up your HSA, and then you're not pulling funds from that. So some people can contribute, some companies will allow you to contribute to your HSA and your FSA. So that's something to consider.
Yeah. Boy, that was a deep topic to get to.
I kind of want to say one other thing. Because I did see that Felicia made
people said we need to do a part 2 of this.
Yeah, it sounds like it. But Felicia had said something about debt, and I did want us to talk a little bit about that, because I too have traditionally been the type of person that's like, I don't want no debt. I don't want any debt. No debt. But then I had one of my friends who was just like, debt is not necessarily a bad thing. A lot of wealthy people actually have debt. It's what is your debt to income ratio? Yes. How do you use your debt, or what's your debt to income ratio? Or, again, do you have more assets than you have liabilities? So I just wanted you to touch a little bit on, because I think traditionally as people, because of our history in this country, we have been made to feel like you never want to owe anybody anything. Mm-hmm. But there's times where it makes sense to have some debt. So can we talk about that just a little bit?
There's a difference between debt and leverage.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a great point, Leslie. Yeah. So, obviously, if you want to buy a house, you're not going to be able to pay $200,000 on that house.
I mean, some people may be able to. I don't know those people, but they may.
Right. Majority of Americans, most likely not. Right. So yeah. So that's where, I would say that's a good place to be. Unfortunately, though, I would say that a lot of people, when they, say they're buying a house, they may not be fully prepared. And so they didn't have the emergency fund in addition, maybe to the down payment, in addition to, buying the items to fill up the home. So now they've got this beautiful home, but now they're just strapped, and now we've got to make repairs and things like that. So it's really important to make sure that you have a game plan for that and to utilizing, your debt. I'm definitely not a proponent of consumer debt. That's more so us trying to get a bag, or, maybe it's emotional spending, that type of thing. There can be a place for debt, when I talked about the house and buying property and those types of things, but there's also going to have to be the savings component matched up with that. So, for those who, and this is a whole different topic, but if you're buying a property, obviously you're going to get a mortgage and all of those things, but you still need to make sure you have enough for repairs. You still need to make sure you have enough for if you're getting the property managed. I mean, there's a lot of things to consider when you are using debt. But, debt in terms of consumer debt, definitely don't recommend that.
So look, April is Financial Literacy Month. I think we're going to need to dedicate April all to money topics and bring Shehara back, bring Leslie back, bring
Goretti back.
And Goretti back. Like, just bring them all back. And every week in the month of April, hit on each, like, one part of it and kind of go a little deeper. Yeah. What y'all think about that? Y'all let us know what y'all think about that, if that's a good idea, because we have So many good
This
questions.
time went really quickly.
And it went by very fast. So,
because we were talking about salt and pepper, I didn't need to talk about salt and pepper. I should have just jumped right on into the money. I should have got to where the money resides.
But the salt and pepper issue is about money too.
Yeah,
about that. It always comes back to money. And if y'all want to know about the inauguration and who funded that insurrection, y'all go read them articles in the New York Times about where the money came from for that. How about that? All about that money. Ask everything around me. Shout out to the Wooten. Against All Odds, Cracking the Code to Unlimited Wealth is the working title of the upcoming book by Shehara Wooten, our certified financial planner of Your Story Financial. Yeah. And she is going to be publishing this book in August. We're not going to get to all the details tonight because we're already over time. All right. But y'all be on the lookout. And it's probably going to be on Amazon. So she might not have one to talk about Amazon. But I'm gonna just let that land right there.
Right. Get that gift card and then buy the book. Yes. Okay.
Yes. But Against All Odds, Cracking the Code to Unlimited Wealth. I think that's something that all of us want to know more about. We definitely want you to go to her website, yourstoryfinancial.com. I believe you do consultations. As she said, she's a fee-only certified financial planner. She's a certified fiduciary. So she has not only the credentials and the 16 years of experience, but also she is here to look out for your best interest. So we want you to go to her website. We want you to connect with her, and we definitely are going to have to bring you back. Any words in closing you want to say to everybody?
I just want to say, stay positive. Think of money as a tool, and it will help you to get peace of mind and freedom, and keep that at the forefront, because I believe most people are looking for that security, that freedom, and that peace of mind. And you keep money as a tool for that.
All right, sister, what do you want to say in closing?
It's funny because Rosalind said that she said we definitely need a part 2 because you wanted to discuss life insurance, and something else that I said before we got on. So now this has been a great conversation. I should have known when you mentioned fries that you had to live in this area, because
fries just came off, right?
Right. And you can go into fries and end up with a lawnmower and a bag of groceries. So it's just kind of one of those things. But thank you so much. I really enjoyed this conversation. It went by super, super quick. And yeah, I do think that sister, as we've talked about in your at your conference before, having the three-pronged approach, even financial planning, tax planning, and estate planning, would be awesome for us to tackle all those topics in April, because we gotta all go where the money resides.
That's to be where the money resides in 2021. Because here's the thing: there's still money out there, and people are still making money, and people are still growing money, and people are still doing well, even in this time of COVID. So we can be there as well. And so with that, everybody, we are going to sign off for the night. We want to thank you for tuning in. We got a plan now for April, so I'm going to be contacting you again. But I'm going to ask you and Christina to hold the line and wave good night to everybody as we sign off. Bye, everybody.